Hello, and welcome to another episode of Nature with You, where I talk to you about your favorite nature experiences, memories, and stories. Today, I am talking to one of my first science teachers, Carole. Carole has been teaching for more than 20 years, and her teaching experience is everywhere from preschool through adult. She has a degree in biology and master's in educational leadership, and she loves what she does. She loves her family and has an amazing husband and son, Hunter, and two bonus boys, Liam and Reese, and two dogs and two cats who would appreciate being mentioned, of course. She lives in Pennsylvania but will always be a Vermonter at heart. It is safe to say that her energy and love of science has got me to where I am today. Where do you feel most connected to nature?
That is an interesting question. And when you asked it, I actually took some time to really think about it. And then it made me realize how much I missed that or those places. So there are a couple, and they're very specific. One, I grew up on Lake Champlain in the Lake Champlain Islands, and they are a chain of islands that go like straight down the middle between New York and Vermont. And so when you're on the island where I grew up, which is called South Hero, you can look to the west and see the Adirondacks, and you can look to the east and see the Green Mountains.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. When I am there, I feel very grounded and rooted in the outdoors and outdoor pursuits, because when I lived there, I did things on the water, I did things in the mountains. So there's this kind of washing over me of a feeling, and it's relaxing, it's peaceful, and it's invigorating. I find that I have to go back there to calibrate. So that's one place. The second place is I also grew up going to summer camp, so I was very fortunate that my parents worked at them. So I got to go. When I was younger, I went to one in Vermont, nestled in that same spot. But then when I was older, I worked at a camp in Maine on Sebago Lake, and it's called Camp Wawanock. It's amazing. And the rocky shore of a Maine lake is something super unique and beautiful and rustic in a way. But the feeling that you get when you drive into this place, and it's the smell of the pine trees, it's the sounds that you experience, it's the water, the sand, and there's this spot there called the Images. Abby, they're like this. Okay, so it's 80-foot high rocks that jut right up out of the lake, and it's like beam rocks, but on a lake, basically. I know. So you go, and it's where we would have like our weekly non-denominational gathering. We called it Vespers. And so we would all go there as the whole camp, and we'd all sit on the Images. We call it the Images. And you could see out. It was always close to sunset. So it was in the evening. And that is a place I can think about it right now and feel the rock under my bum. I can see, hear everything. So that's another spot. And then a third place, after college, went to work at another camp. There's a theme here, right? Another camp where I did outdoor education and environmental work and summer camp work. And it's called Frost Valley. It's in the Catskills. This spot is like really specific because I love white pine trees. And when you sit under them, around them, and near them, first you smell them because the needle's on the ground. But when you're under them and it's windy, the sound of the wind blowing through pine trees sounds a lot like the ocean or waves on a shore. And so at Frost Valley, there's this trail called the Banks Hill Trail. And there's this little grove of white pine trees that I love to just hike to and go to just to listen. That was like my listening spot. So those are three pretty significant spots. And you're probably thinking, because you know me from being at Valley School and then Ligonier, I feel very connected here. But what about Valley School makes me feel connected is that there are pieces of each of those places I just described are present here at Valley. So it takes me back to those roots that are really important to me, and that sense of connectedness to the solid earth and what it means to be like rooted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how specific those were because, like, you can tell that those really were, like, formed who you are, honestly. And
Yeah.
me knowing you, like, it all made so much sense. How did growing up where you grew up enhance your respect for nature? Because I know some people don't grow up in the environment you did or I did.
That's hard to answer, I think, because literally it was always just present and just consistently there. So it was a way of being where I grew up. And then each of the environments that I existed in as I did grow up were places and spaces that were very committed to the care of the earth and the environment, taking care of resources and other people. Just so that was always the norm. When I go into places where that's not the case, it feels very wonky. And so that's probably why I'm a teacher, is that hoping that I can create that sense of rootedness, groundedness, and appreciation for everybody.
Yeah. And you said your parents worked at one of the camps, correct? Okay. I'm sure that reinstilled that constant presence and excitement around nature.
Absolutely. Yeah, so summer camps are all different, different flavors. New England summer camps are really storied in tradition. And I was there 8 weeks out of the summer. So when people have a summer break after school, all of my friends were just at home or they did day camps, but I went and lived at camp with individuals from all over the world. And then I was just outside every day for the majority of the day. And I didn't know anything different because I was literally born at camp with a birthday in July. So I just thought, oh, this is how you live. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And even now, that's just how I operate. You move into this mode in the summer. You just want to be outside. I want to be outside all the time.
Yeah. That's cool. Valley School nature is such a big part of all of the curriculum and everything. Like, I've talked about this with fellow students in other episodes, and I'm sure we'll get into it more later. But I guess, how is the experience teaching there versus at a school not in an environment like that?
I taught at a local high school before I came to Valley, and the class I taught was environmental science. And I had to do a lot more work to make it happen. Not that it wasn't successful and not that kids didn't get totally into it. It was just a little different because I was one of a few that were really committed to that at that time. When I got to Valley, from being here, it's a space where the outside infiltrates the inside. So when you're inside the building, you still feel like you're outside. And there's also this crossing, I call it the crossing, as you drive into the school. There's this moment as you disappear into our landscape that it's a code shift. And I think it works for the children here and families and everybody, even alumni. There's this feeling that washes over you. You're in this little nestled nook of existing in a place that not only is appreciated now, but has been appreciated for a very long time. We know that people were here long before us in school and any buildings, and they chose this spot for a similar reason as the school chose this spot to be here.
I do love the nestled the thinking, because it really was true.
If you think about it right now in your mind, you can feel the shift in mindset as you drive into a space. And that happens for a lot of people everywhere. Like, talking about those places where you feel most connected to nature, there's this mind shift. And there's a reason for that, because nature it's important to our health and well-being in so many ways.
Yeah, and like you said before, those places that you mentioned being your favorite or most feelings of most connected to nature, you just feel so rooted and rejuvenated. And I think that's how you're so able to remember all parts of those places so easily.
Absolutely.
What are you doing when you feel most connected to nature?
Oh my goodness, it changes so often. Let me think about that. I think that it's not that I'm like physically moving, like I'm not skiing or playing tennis or whatever, but there is a switch, and we talk about that code switch, or that crossing a threshold or moving from one space to another. It's internal, it's emotional, and it's mind based for me. There's this, when I talk about the mountains in Vermont, and when I see them, breathe it in, there's this calm. And I imagine if you were to put vitals on me and everything and watch what would happen, there would be this like throwing off of this heaviness in my body, and my heart rate would slow and my breathing would change. And so that is what it is for me in one sense. And then the other sense, when I'm the most happy, when I am engaged in nature in any of those spaces, I love to sail, and I don't do it as often, but I sailed growing up on Lake Champlain. I taught it and sailed on Sebago Lake. And in Pennsylvania, the lakes are too small. They're not even lakes, they're reservoirs. And they're fine, but it's not for sailing. But anytime I'm doing something physical on the water. So recently we got into paddleboarding.
Nice.
And so we go, the Key Mahoning is really close, or Quee, whatever people call it. There's many
Key
different
Mahoning.
Yeah. So we'll go up there and go paddleboarding. And I get a similar feeling when I'm like sailing my boat on the water. Yeah. I don't do just sitting. I think I can't sit for very long. So if you're walking and there's a viewscape that you can like pause, look, and then walk a little more, or hike, or that kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Me and my boyfriend live on the river right now. I don't know if I've sent you pictures, but I will after this.
You did. I think you sent me one. Yeah. You have to send me more.
And I totally understand what you're saying with just being on the water. I don't know. There's something about it. And after going on my vacation this past month, I hadn't kayaked for 2 weeks after kayaking every day for the few months before that. And yesterday I just got back out on the water for the first time, and I loved my vacation, but that feeling was so relaxing, and I just felt like I was back at home, honestly. And it was
cool.
Even though it was really cloudy and about to rain, and we were kind of like, should we even go out? I'm so glad we did, because I just love going out there. And so many of our neighbors have sailboats. I have never gone sailing, but
okay, so you have to. You have to promise me.
I have to. Our neighbor literally just pulled up his sailboat to work on it, and my boyfriend's like sort of friends with him, so we got to talk to him. We got to ask him to take us out.
Make that my homework assignment for you.
Okay.
If you like kayaking on the water, and motorboats are great. I love water skiing too, but there's something about you're using the power of nature to be moving, or you're using your own body power. I just think that's really, I don't know, it's ancient almost. And it's almost I think it makes you appreciate the water that you're on. Or if you're climbing, have you rock climbed before?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So that's another thing that you're going to need to do. Yeah. But not doing it around here. I mean, you have to like really do it, and not in a climbing gym, because it's really makes you feel vulnerable. I like heights. I can do okay with them, but they're not my favorite. I climbed a lot when I lived in the Catskills. It was really fun. Yeah.
Okay, I'll definitely go sailing and go climbing for sure. But yeah,
okay, cool.
Definitely using when I'm kayaking, and like I can feel my muscles slash the wind slash just the current I'm creating, like propel myself forward. You're right, it is different than being in a boat with a motor, just because I've come home from work some days, been frustrated with whatever happened that day. Like, the only thing that can solve these feelings right now, or help me work through these feelings, is just going out and kayaking as fast as I can possibly go. And it's like medicine, for real.
Do you think I'm just, like, from my perspective here, teacher, at Valley School. Do you think that if you hadn't gone to school here, that you would have had the feelings and the drive you do now to be embedded in the environmental field?
I do think about this a lot.
Yeah.
I think my parents did have that desire to just create those opportunities for Emma and I to be outside and have it be something that we're not even thinking about, because we had beautiful backyards in both of our houses growing up. So I do think if I didn't go to Valley, I would still have it, but I think it just Valley made me realize that it should be a part of my education experience too, not just living and having fun. But so I think that kind of ingrained it as, oh, this can be a career, or this could be something serious, because it was part of school. And whenever the headmaster would talk about it, it's, oh, this, as a young girl, it's like, this person who's running this whole school is talking about how important our surroundings are. I don't know. It's just like everyone there, all the adults there, had that respect. And I think it was just like in that, it wasn't professional, but in that quote unquote professional setting, I was like, this is what I want all the time.
It like normalizes it. Not that it should be unnormal, but abnormal. It's interesting. I often think about that. Like, how am I passing that on to students? I think I do an okay job with it. I was thinking our owl project.
Oh yeah, I've brought that up a couple of times with Rachel and Kenzie. We talked about that a little bit. I wasn't even an owl. Technically, we weren't the owls when I was there.
No, and I have to be honest, I was telling Nate Arendis this. I was like, oh my gosh, so we were the OGs with the owls, and I didn't actually want an owl. I wanted a trout for a mascot. Oh. Because I also raise trout, so I was like, but I get the owl. It's very appropriate. Yeah, that was funny.
I do think that you were saying, I hope you do a good job. But I talk about your excitement a lot, and saying that that's how I want to be. And even though, like, my calling is not to teach children, just teaching everybody, adults who already think they know their ways, like trying to do that through this podcast, wherever I end up, that's what I want to try to be like that. So you definitely are impacting your students as a former student.
Thank you for saying that. That makes me feel like I did a good job.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just having good teachers who really, I don't know, just, it's hard to get excited about things. And as a kid, we're expected to figure everything out so quickly. So that's just what I remember, is the positivity associated with it. I don't know. It's like the whole science is my happy place.
That is, you have to quote that and put it on a bumper sticker and a t-shirt. It's interesting because through the learning and studying that you're doing, the impact that nature can have on a person's well-being. And I wish that people had the ability to find that piece of nature that they can connect with that is unique to them, because everybody has their own space and place. And and I wish something you said really got me. You said the positivity around it, meaning like it wasn't a negative thing to go outside. It was always just like this, and it is, we go outside for recess all the time. We're outside for this, for that. And or for sports, it was raining and freezing and we'd be out there. So I think there was no like barrier to be crossed. And so there was an accessibility there. I think that's really, really important, like making it feel more accessible to people and acceptable. I think that there's this, when I talk to people about loving the outdoors and loving activity, if you're not really physically active or you're not into outdoor sports, but you want to do that, it can be intimidating. You're like, oh, it's not what I do.
Definitely, because there's so much that comes with it. Like just sitting outside in my backyard here, like we've lived here for a little over a year, and at this point we now know, oh, we're gonna need bug spray after X hour because that's when the mosquitoes come out. There's all these little things that could make it not enjoyable that you have to figure out. Some people don't want to have to figure that out, and
that's true.
Just want, it's part of the fun though, I think.
Yeah, I agree, but like in the teaching landscape, when I'm approaching a classroom lesson or something, and what are the barriers you have to overcome to make the learning accessible to all? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing when you're like arriving to nature. And sometimes if you can move those barriers out of the way for people, eventually they'll be able to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. So the next barrier they'll get to, they're like, oh wait, I was able to move that one thing out of the way for myself, like the knowing when to put on the bug spray. And then you're like, oh, so this thing came up. I know that I did that, so I know I can do this too.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a misconception, like you don't want to make it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
But initially you do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we start in kindergarten and move all the way up. So
you got to make them fall in love with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is your favorite outdoor, I don't know, field trip or little class that you do?
All right, so couple things. My high school classes, when I taught them in Latrobe, with Mr. Rogers for those, and Arnold Palmer for people that aren't from our area, I bought snowshoes, and so I took all of my students snowshoeing. We had enough snow that summer, and that was just one of my favorite things because it was so radical. And the kids will never forget it. We also, all of my classes for the 7 years I taught there, we worked on restoring a stream, and each year in the spring we would work with different organizations and we would install habitat and erosion control structures, and they were all different. So the kids would be able to be a part of the design, the permitting, and the installation, and then going back to see the impact. And
that's really cool.
They're still all there. So this would have been, the first structures went in 2008. The last structures went in 2013. And they've completely turned the stream around.
That's awesome.
And then the kids would we would organize a fishing derby for little kids. So it was just this. And a lot of my students weren't on a science track, but this was a way to connect to the outdoor pursuits that they really liked, like fishing and being outside. So those are one thing. The owl project, of course, we installed owl boxes. I still have photos of doing that. And then here at school, on a random day, there's like this bridge that you can walk across in our stream, which is called Lynn Run, and there's a forest back there. And I tend to be like super creative and a little bit off the wall. But the one day I called it the Magic Forest, and I made all the kids do a pledge before we walked over the bridge. And then we met at this like stump, and we called it the meeting stump. And then somebody found in one of the downed hemlock trees, they pulled out a branch that had broken off, and with it came this twist of wood from the inside of the tree, and it looked like a torch. So then that became our torch, and so we brought that inside with us. The next time we went out, they're like, oh, we can't cross the bridge without doing a pledge. And so we did the pledge, and it was about really simple, like mind where you are, like mind your step, stay where I can see you and you can see me, take care of the forest friends and each other. And it was just this basic thing, but it took care of everything that they needed to be when they were there. And then we had the torch, and we would put this torch in the meeting stump, and that would let everybody know that we were there. And when we left, we would take it with us. And the Magic Fort, and it was only a place to I never planned anything when I went there because I do believe that authentic engagement with nature is really critical and non-prescribed some days. So today, here at Valley School, that is still, it's named the Magic Forest. And I knew the impact when we had all this flooding take place here and it wiped it out. And a message went out that they were worried, and this is from the administration and the maintenance, that they were worried about the Magic Forest.
Oh my
gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This has become this place and space here. So being in there is just, you gotta let it happen, right? And then everything I do, I raise trout in my classroom, and they're my little babies. I have the hardest time letting them go. I don't do it now with everybody there because I cry.
Oh.
It's like really emotional. And I like to have them as long as I can because they're just important living things. So yeah, I think that like my activities, I mean, there's so many more, but those are ones that I think stand out for me as memorable and important.
Do you currently do anything to share your experiences with or in nature, and how do you share?
You know what? I realized when I looked at that question, I wanted to answer it because I feel like I need to do more.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously teaching is a way that I do that, but then I thought I do share on social media, and then I wonder, do people look at this and think, oh, Carole's doing that, maybe I could do that too? But I wonder how else I could extend and share, especially with my friends and other adults. And Hunter is away at college, my son, which is insanely crazy.
That is insane that he's in college.
Yes. And I have 2 stepsons. My current new family is very active. We do a lot in the outdoors and lots of different adventures. And I just want to do more of that and make sure that I don't forget that piece of my life. And I do think that in the past, like since COVID, and I hate bringing up COVID because I'm ready just to not even have to think about it.
Yeah.
But I did notice a shift when it happened. Instead of going outside, I retreated inside. And I'm in this process of reemerging into nature and reconnecting with some of those places that I couldn't go to and got cut off from. So I think that's the doing more to share that and just talk more openly about it and why it's important.
I do think I was very surprised at how rewarding it has been for me to have discussions with people about nature stories, because I thought that it only mattered if I had my like individual experiences with nature, and that it really enhanced my connection to it and respect for it. But after I record every episode, I just get even more emotional about it. And so I think you totally should, even if it seems scary. It has been really a great decision that I made, so I'm all for it. Snap.
I have to share with you that what you don't know about yourself and your impact on me via this podcast is that you are a nudge for me, and that when I see someone that I have respect for you and your family, and I love you guys so much, and I saw this and I was like, there's no excuse for me not to be doing the things I want to do, and there's no reason that I shouldn't be doing them as often as possible. And I'm like, look and listen to my former students and friends that are talking about it and their passion for it. And so it's inspiring, which I think is part of your purpose. But you absolutely have nudged me in a direction that I needed to be nudged. So thank you.
That's great. That it really is the purpose. So that makes me happy.
Success.
Yes, success. Even one person, success.
But it's a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
You think you've impacted an educator, and so think about what that means for my students this year. Yeah, it's pretty epic.
What do you know about climate change?
Oh, I'd say quite a bit. Although I do have to admit, the majority of was from when I was teaching my environmental science class between 2007 and 2013. And so I think that probably, and most definitely, I should say just definitely, we've progressed. Mm-hmm. And so one of the big things that I like to say that I know and believe and promote as a science teacher is the difference between global warming and global climate change, because global warming is a misnomer and I think it is misleading, and is part of the reason that there's this like weird pushback on it as a concept and a man-made situation. And so I actually, when I taught high school and even now, I talk about the causes and first identify loss of biodiversity, erosion, glacial change, all of those things that are impacts we know are a result of climate change. And then I let students come to the idea on their own. And then I'm like, yeah, we have a name for that right now. Mm-hmm. And so this is climate change. These are directly related to that phenomena happening on our planet. I'm concerned about it. I think it's that like thing that we just keep avoiding. And the most apparent thing that's happening right now, the intensity of storms and how they're impacting the United States. If you're not noticing it, I think you're putting your head under your pillow and just saying la la la. Yeah. And I think we really need to wake up, because the loss of life, landscape, the cost of that damage, we just can't endure that and keep enduring that. And I don't want to say it's a simple fix, right? But we are resilient and creative and passionate and brilliant people on the planet. We can do something about it.
Yeah, definitely. Do your students ask a lot of questions when you talk about it?
Yes and no. I think that you do have some that just receive it and move. And remember, I teach 4th, 5th, and 8th. Yeah. And in 8th grade, we are focused on physical science. But we don't often get into that in the same way. But when it does come up, there are political ideas that get involved with the thinking that the students have. And so navigating that at that age is really hard, because you want to make sure that for me, I'm like, I don't need for them to be all in, but they need to understand the things that are impacted and the things that are creating it. To break it down to what are the foundational components of them knowing that this is a problem. And then like when they're capable of more abstract thought, them being able to put it together using the foundation that we've created here in our science department. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of them are hearing those terms for the first time when you're teaching it to them?
Yes, but hearing it for the first time in a science-based construct, yes. I think that they hear it in the noise around them in some cases, no matter what household they reside in. I think it can be communicated about in different ways.
As a teacher, as an educator and a person, what ideas do you have for making it less political to talk about?
I hate not calling it like it is. Yeah. But I think that's these terms, these words, they get misidentified and misdefined, and there's power in that somehow. So you just take away the power in it. And then like what I did in the high school when I taught was I taught all of the ideas. I did a whole unit about the population on the planet and just really dug into the facts, the information, where were people, what did that mean, access to resources. And then the end of the unit, the kids would then start to ask the questions. Like, and they would understand the term carrying capacity. And I'd always have this one kid be like, well, aren't we exceeding our carrying capacity? And I would say, yes. Yeah. We are. And so what is the impact on the planet, it starts to change and it gets uncomfortable. When I do it with elementary students, I do personify the earth in a way and talk about it just feeling itchy. And so it helps them to understand that. But I do know that being direct is not effective.
Yeah.
Because then I'm telling people like it is. And I think I'm an inquiry-based teacher, so I want students to arrive to those ideas on their own.
Yeah.
And that's the way it'll stick. Because if you synthesize that information, it's a more deeper learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Spotify. I appreciate your support. Thank you.